So this is a little bit weird for me. Oh, I'm live. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, it said I'm live. Okay, appreciate that. How y'all doing tonight? Can you see me on YouTube? I should probably use my other computer. Can you see me on YouTube? How is it? How's the? Oh man, I'm gonna have to get another camera or something because it looks a little dark. Is it dark? Is it dark on YouTube? The lighting behind me, is it dark? I see I only got one person on YouTube right now. No, it's fine. Okay. Hey, so for everybody that's tuning in, again, my name is Arnold Austin. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, Daphne, for tuning in. How you doing? Again, I am excited. This is something new, man. What? I am excited, y'all. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about how we can go through our healing process. If you're anything like me, you probably had some different struggles that have taken place in life. How you doing, Donna? How you doing, Renee? How you doing? Yes, Cats 20. All right. Yo, we got some people on YouTube. If you're in YouTube, let me know you're in YouTube. If you're on TikTok, let me know you're in TikTok. Oh, you see me, Diamond? Okay. Or Diane, I appreciate that. Okay. Oh, that's you? Okay, cool. So my point is tonight what we want to do is I'm going over a process where we can start understanding how we can start going through our healing process. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to share a small part of a series, a home study course that I'm putting together. I'm going to go over, it's going to be a 4-part process, and I'm going to do it probably in 30-minute increments or whatever, because we want to see where this is. Like I said, this is kind of like a test market thing. The information will be out there. I'm not charging anything for it, but the full course I will be charging for eventually when I do the full course. But like I said, I'm trying to get this information out there. But tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about healing and the process that people go through. And this is a process. If you followed me for a while, you know that I've talked about it over and over again. And basically, there's 4 or 5 different steps that I came up with myself based upon my own experience. And for those that are just meeting me, I was in a long-term relationship, end up getting divorced late, really late in the relationship. Once there were some betrayals that were discovered and different things that were going on behind my back. And through that process, what it did was it took me down a road of self-examination. And it took me down a road of starting to look at, what were the causes of why some of these things happen. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in on TikTok, as well as those that are in on YouTube. Let's keep that chat moving if you don't mind. But one of the things that I found is when I started my own healing process was I needed community. And so community was important. And part of how one of the things that happened for me was I ended up getting connected into a friend of my sister's. She's out of New Mexico, and she actually has a healing retreat that she runs. I ended up going there for that healing retreat like a couple months after my divorce. And then in the process of that, it kind of took me down a road because I had a roadmap of how to get from broken and just beat down to a place of trying to figure out how to get to the healing. Through this process, I came up with a little equation, whatever you want to call it, that kind of worked for me, and I believe it'll work for those that are watching us. Thank you. And if I don't comment on you in the chat, it's not that I'm being disrespectful. It's that I'm trying to run YouTube as well as TikTok right now, and I'm trying to organize all this stuff. I'm going to get I got to get a monitor on both. That way, both can run at the same time. But the first thing that happens with all of us, in order for there to be any heartbreak in any of our lives, that heartbreak is going to be predicated upon some loss that has taken place around us or something involving our lives. Loss is something that is very, very traumatic to all of us when we actually sit back and we realize what just happened. One of the best things that anybody can do is not glaze over it, not do what a lot of us are taught. If you were taught anything like me, when things happen around you or around your family, the mindset was, oh, get over it. Oh, we don't talk about that. Oh, that's not important. Oh, that's, put some dirt on it, kind of forget about it and keep on moving. But the problem with that is that there never was a process of dealing with the issue. Because if we just overlook something or run over top of it and don't address it, then there's no process of actually dealing with something. And it's just because we don't deal with it does not mean that it is resolved. It just means that it's just something that we just threw some dirt on it. We just threw some dirt on it. And just because you throw dirt on it don't mean that it ain't going to rise back. Because you throwing the dirt on it, what's going to happen is that seed of that thing eventually is going to start coming back up through that ground. Because you threw the dirt back on it and you didn't actually destroy the seed of whatever. You didn't destroy the root of whatever the cause of that problem was. So everything starts with that loss. The loss is going to be something that's going to be, it's going to be something that's going to be based upon something that we have invested our hearts in. And so my question to everybody on the chat, whether you're in YouTube or whether you're on TikTok, I want you to pull out a notebook when you get a chance, if you watch this later or if you're watching this now, and I want you to ask yourself, have I dealt with the losses that have taken place within my life? Or have I just kind of like, oh, well, you know, I'll get over it. I won't really think about it. I'll just kind of forget about it. Or have you actually sat down and thought about what was that? What did that loss mean to you? What did that loss in that marriage mean to you? And your losses are going to come in various different ways. But I always say your losses are going to be a noun. And you know the definition of a noun. A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. It's going to be one of those three things. This is why, like I often say, if it's a person, that means it's somebody like family, friend, or somebody that's close to you, a spouse, or somebody like that. So when we lose these people, what's going to happen? You're going to feel heartbroken. Okay, so that loss is going to be a person, a place, or a thing. The place can be something that you have invested your mindset in, and your thoughts in, and your actions in. You know, and I often talk about that. My dad was a pastor, and he ran this church for every bit of 60 years. When he ended up getting sick, there was nobody to take over the church because I already told him, I said, I'm not a pastor. I'm not taking over this church. But he knew that way before he got sick. But there was nobody to take it over. And this is around COVID time. And there was just a lot of things that were going on. And it was just easier for the family to just sell it, you know, sell everything, kind of dissolve it and kind of move on to the next step. You know, and part of this whole process was I saw the struggle that he went through mentally, emotionally, because of 60 some years of being there and pouring out your heart before people and sharing and loving on people and just giving and doing and all these things. And this whole process. And throughout this process, when you give your heart to somebody into something, what happens is when it's not no longer can be reciprocated. And so whether it's an animal, whether it's a church, whether it's a job, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a business, whether it's a football team, you have people that when the Lions lost the other night, then people were crying because their football team lost. Why? Because they invested their heart into that team. And when the team lost, they felt the trauma within their bodies of the loss, instead of understanding that there's certain things that are going to go on in our lives that we cannot control. I can't control if my team is going to win. That's why I don't invest a lot of emotion in it. I don't care if I do, but I don't. And that sounds like I'm schizophrenic or a little bit crazy, but I might be. But I understand that there's certain things that I can't control. Like I can vote, but I can't control who wins. I can have a sports team, but I can't control if they win or lose. I can love somebody, but I can't control if they're going to love me back. This is the thing with our hearts and the investment of our hearts and us giving our hearts to other people and places and things. If we're giving our hearts to people, places, and things that have not proven themselves to be worthy, this is the key. The people, the places, and the things that we allow in our lives have to prove themselves to be worthy of our hearts. The most precious asset that you have is your heart. Your heart is the difference between you manifesting what you want and you not and you not getting any revelation or manifestation in your life. Because it's going to take emotion. This is why the health of your heart is critical. This is why I often talk about the health and the healing of your heart. Back to my point, the three things. It's going to be a noun, a person, a place, or a thing. Write that in the chat, person, place, or thing. That is the most important thing that I would ask you to consider. The people that are losing in California, it's a person. Some are losing people, places, and things. And you see the devastation. You see people standing in the street crying. Why? Because they lost a person, a place, or a thing. Put that in the chat. A person, a place, or a thing. Put that in the chat. Appreciate y'all tapping the screen. Appreciate y'all liking the live. I thank each and every one of y'all for being here. So when you get back to my point, is that when you go through that loss, then the next thing that happens is now this is where heartbreak comes in. This is when your heart is hurt. And we know that heartbreak is a true thing because when you look at it, there's too much information out there about our hearts and the power and the energy that is expelled from our hearts. There's people that have PhDs that have done the studies and they understand that when we break, when our heart is in this state, that there's some that believe that there's scar tissue sometimes that can actually take place on our hearts based upon the breaking of our hearts. It's actually, and that's why you feel that pain. And when people feel that pain, where do they feel the pain? They don't feel it in their leg. They feel it in their heart. because that's where that emotion was coming from. I was giving you my whole heart, but you gave me back nothing. Stop playing. You gave me back nothing. I'm giving you my heart, but what did you give me back? You just threw it in my face. Really? Is this what we're doing? Come on, stop playing with me. But this is why there's so many artists that have written beautiful songs about love and about heartbreak and about some achy breaky heart and if thou was wouldst comest to me, my dear, and poetry is written about it and songs are written about it and people are singing about it and people are hugging it, people are talking about it all over the world. They're talking about love and they're talking about the heart and they're talking about opening up their hearts. And what happens to your heart when you share your heart and give your heart to somebody that does not deserve it? But if you never open your heart, then you never get the experience of sharing your heart to know what it feels like to open up your heart and to receive it back. You have to be willing to give it to receive it. If you ain't open enough to give it, you ain't going to be open enough to receive it. I would rather take the chance, based upon my discernment and my intuition, take the chance of opening up my heart and it not being returned than not opening my heart. That's just where I stand on it. So the first thing is that when you go through your loss, you will go through heartbreak. The heartbreak will make you write songs. The heartbreak, no, let me stop. But the heartbreak is going to take you to places, and it's going to actually make you look at yourself. I wrote a quote down that kind of stood out to me when I was writing about this today. And the quote said, "You can't keep on being a good person when you break your own heart." So what is that? What is that quote saying? The author for that quote is unknown. You can't keep being a good person if you continue to keep breaking your own heart. So what that quote means to me is that if I stay in the place of continually allowing my heart to be broken, now I'm not saying that you're just making rash or quick decisions, but I'm saying that by going and based upon my own intuition and my discernment, when we make these decisions, open up our hearts to people, we're not making just a frivolous, ignorant decision. We're making the decision based upon trying them out, seeing if they're a person that's a match energetically, but also seeing if their words are matching their action, seeing if they're a truthful person, seeing if they're a person that's reliable, see what kind of character this individual has. Well, and their character has nothing to do with their words. Their character has everything to do with the way that they perform when no one's watching. That's what your character is. Your character is when nobody's watching, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a committed person? Are you going to be a faithful person? That's when our character is tested. It's not tested when everybody's watching, because nobody wants to get caught. This is why there's sneaking and there's deception and there's manipulation. That's why those things are so prevalent, because nobody wants to get caught. But if you're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem? There's no problem, right? So we keep bringing you can't keep being a good person when you break your own heart. So what does that mean? When we keep putting ourselves in the place of investing in things and people, places, and things that are not reliable, we're going to break our heart to the point where we will no longer open up our hearts, which will be a tragic day. It'll be a tragic day because at that point, you're no longer going to be able to manifest to the full potential of what you could. Dr. Dispenza and Dr. Braden talked about this all the time, about the power of our hearts and the electromagnetic field of our hearts. Dr. Braden talks about that the energy from our heart is probably 5,000 times more powerful than any thought that you have. If you're going to want to manifest things in your life, it's not only going to come from your thoughts, but it's got to come from your emotion. You have to place your thoughts where you want to go or where you are, because you have to already be there, but you have to place your emotion where you are or where you're already going. If you're going to be standing on stage before millions of people, you have to already in your mind see it, but in your body, in your heart, you got to already feel it. But when you're coming from a place where your heart is all crushed and broken from these relationships, this is why the people that we choose and we go through in these relationships that's probably one of the most important decisions that you can make, who you're going to choose to trust with your heart. Because when you say that you love somebody, basically what you're doing is you're taking your heart and you're saying, here, I'm asking for you to be trustworthy with what I'm giving you. I'm asking you to be trustworthy with what I'm giving you. But the trustworthy part starts with us first. It doesn't start with someone else, because it's our responsibility. It's my responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility. It's my responsibility. And so because of that, the results of not doing it is still my responsibility. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate every single one of y'all. So when you look at the definition of, man, woo, I am so excited tonight. I appreciate y'all. But when you look at the one of the definitions, and it's kind of a combination definition that I kind of put together. It's part of what I read and then some other things. But the definition of grief and heartbreak is it's a multifaceted and profound response to loss. It's a multifaceted response to loss. And I got to get back to this point, because that loss, again, is going to cause you to have heartbreak. When the heartbreak takes place, it's a natural, because our body is set up to defend and protect. And part of the protection is you're going to automatically go into grief. Many of us slide into grief and we don't realize it, because loss equals grief. The heartbreak is just in the middle of it. The heartbreak is a signal from the loss to let us know that we're going to automatically go into grief. And one of the mistakes that I found that I did through this process is I was going through different mentalities and different emotional struggles and things. And in my mind, I was thinking, man, why am I fighting this depression? And why am I fighting this bargain and these different other symbols and things? And initially I didn't understand where it was coming from. And it wasn't, I say this often, it wasn't until one night I had a dream, and in the dream I was shown that I was in a state of grief. And I was shown to start studying on it. And as I started studying on it, what I found was the emotions in the different places that I was from day to day was a symbol of where I was emotionally based upon the loss that had taken place. There's no way that you can be with someone for years, for decades, and you're not going to feel that loss. If you don't feel that loss, that means that you never opened up your heart. And if you never opened up your heart, that means that you played games for that time. I don't care how tough you are as a man. I don't care how sexy and classy and whatever you are as a woman. The bottom line is, if you open up your heart to another person and you've been with them for decades, if there's no longer a combination, or if there's a breakdown in that relationship, you're going to have an emotional response from that breakdown. That doesn't diminish your masculinity. It doesn't diminish your femininity. It's part of how we're made. It's part of the way God made us to protect us. Part of the biggest decision that we have to make in that time frame is whether we're going to be open enough to still have our heart, to allow our hearts to be open. Or if like that poem I read, we're going to allow all these different things to keep pounding us and pounding us. Whether something that happened when we were a child, or something that happened in a relationship, or something that happened on a job, or something that happened in a business. Are we going to allow these things to keep pounding on us till we get to the point where we're so hardened and so hard and so callous that nobody can ever get through to us? Because we don't believe that we deserve anything because of our experiences. We are not our experiences do not define who we are. Our experiences just define some of the things that have happened to us. But just because something happened to you, that does not mean that that's what you are. That's just an experience that took place. So what was the lesson that I needed to learn from that? That's the question that I would ask. What is the question? What is the lesson I needed to learn from that? So it's a multifaceted and profound response to loss. That's what grief is. It's a profound response to loss, based upon the beginning part of the definition. Yeah. And so with all these things being said, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to end YouTube, because I only want to do 15 or 30 minute videos on YouTube. So I'm going to end YouTube. I appreciate y'all tuning in YouTube. Give me 1 minute, y'all. Plus I want to put some music on. Thank y'all for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, go to TikTok for me, please. Okay.